Number 1. Fans throwing NCT's albums out on the street. Recently, when NCT made their year-end comeback as a tribute to fans through the album universe, things started out on an incredibly high note, as they managed to surpass 1.7 million stock pre-orders, breaking their own records in the past. Sounds all pink and supportive, right? Sadly, life is not always rosy, and as soon as the albums were put on sale, the situation quickly took a turn for the worse, as netizens found out some NCTzens just bought a bunch of albums to search for fansign tickets and gather photocards, then trade them with a price as scary as transactions in the black market. As if treating the work and dedication of NCT like an opportunity to earn money wasn't bad enough, these so-called NCTzens even went extra lengths, threw those albums and attached photo books out on the street after having their goals checked. The situation was such a shocker that, on the coup, a post calling others to help make better use of the albums quickly garnered almost 60,000 views, almost 1,200 comments, and countless complaints as to how people self-claimed to be fans could treat the dedications of idols so insensitively like that. Moreover, as the soul of the album is the CD, where music is recorded at lossless audios, but fans ended up prioritizing some photocards for the sake of profit, netizens also found the culture of NCTzen a huge disappointment. However, there are also opinions saying that these fans weren't totally to blame, as long as award shows still took the number of album sales into consideration for granting big titles, and companies still stuck with a random system of handing out tickets to fan signs, nothing could be done on the NCTzen side to improve the situation. Moreover, it's also not true to say the culture of NCTzen was way too toxic, because, in fact, the same thing has been taking place in many other fandoms for a very long time. Number 2. Fans treating 101's albums like trash. Needless to look way further into the past, even a part of 101's fandom, Wanable, was also caught to have done the same thing back in 2018. As some suddenly saw when walking in the street, a bunch of 101's brand new albums, without the photocards of course, were thrown outside in a random filthy corner somewhere. Things are even more painful to watch compared to the case of NCT, because this time, 101's albums weren't even organized in a box, but left scattered on the ground along with a bunch of old newspapers, dirty used plastic ramen bowls, a soiled doormat, and thrown away notebooks. At that time, one album would cost around 16,000 Korean won, and a great deal of the members' dedications. But seemingly to those fans, the albums were just as valuable as a piece of trash. Triggered by the mindless action of these so-called wannables, netizens have straight up called them out. According to them, as photocards are just some pieces of paper that were super easy to duplicate, the overhype around them seemed ridiculous. And since idols have spent tons of time and efforts into the making of those songs, they of course would expect fans to appreciate their music and creativity, more than some pieces of plastic with their face on it. Number 3. Chinese fans making BTS boycotted in China. There are also times when fans didn't give a crap about pushing their idols' reputation through pushing the album sales, just because they felt like being offended, while in fact, nothing really happened. Back in 2020, when BTS released the album B, lots of fans were eager to place their pre-order and show their support to the boys, as this was the milestone album marking the participation of all members into the production. However, in total contrast to the expectation, where BTS would break their past record sales, many ARMYs in China suddenly canceled their pre-orders out of the belief that RM had looked down on them. Particularly when RM received the Van Fleet Award from the Korea Society, he paid a great tribute to people who had sacrificed their lives for the peace of the nation. In the speech, he said, "This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Korean War. We will always remember the history of pain that our two nations shared together, and the sacrifices of countless men and women." Confusingly, some Chinese fans believed he was actually dismissing the noble sacrifices made by Chinese soldiers during the Korean War, and that the acceptance speech ignored the American invasion and Asia's interference on popular news portal websites. The aftermath of this allegedly disrespectful speech quickly grew out of mere criticism and adversely affected the album sales of BTS. As Chinese fans have always been famous for spending a crazy amount of money on supporting idols, the album cancellation that time apparently took a hard toll on the group, when Baidu Bar decided to stop completely the pre-order the B album. While no exact numbers were disclosed, the Taotiao anticipated that it amounted to around 800,000, accounting for 1/5 the total album sales, based on the previous order of Baidu Bar. Because of the overwhelming power held in their hands, Chinese armies didn't stop there, but also took a step further, publicly criticizing and dismissing BTS out of the country. Under the fierce pressures from fans, Samsung had to take down the advertisement of BTS at the Chinese branch, despite the fact that the group has been the face of the brand for years. Not long after that, Fila also followed suit, taking down all posts related to BTS in China in the blink of an eye. Even with a brand whose influence was huge and market share was considerable, like Hyundai, the company still had to plead with Chinese fans and deleted photos where BTS promoted the latest car line. Number 4. Fans cutting and burning Irene's photocards. So, have you ever wondered why photocards are so favored among fans? And they could be exorbitantly inflated despite the fact that, at the end of the day, they're just some plastic sheets with random photos of idols printed on them? Well, it's hard to explain because different fans have different reasons. One major reason comes down to the fact that, in cases where idols upset their fans, they could use such bloody costly photocards to show their supremacy over idols, destroying and posting these broken things online to tear the idols down mentally. And that was exactly what happened to Irene in 2018, after she admitted to reading a feminist book called Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by feminist Cho Nam-ju. Because the work portrays the growing up journey of the character in South Korea, along with exploring a lot of the sexism that society tolerates, lots of men were upset by it. That's why, when Irene said in a fan sign that she had been into Kim Ji-young, born in 1982, some salty male fans immediately brought the topic online, criticized her for reading such a book, and even burned and cut her photocards, which they had probably spent a ton to acquire. A so-called fan even went extra lengths, sending a DM to the account that uploaded Irene's video admitted she was reading the book, and insisting on how he wanted it to be taken down as soon as possible. Number 5. Fans burning April's albums to ashes. If photocards, aka the soul of the album according to some fans, could still be burnt down to ashes, of course other things like the hardcovers of the album, CDs, and photo books will also suffer from the same fate when fans are triggered. And that's exactly what happened at the beginning of 2021 to April, when the allegation about the group's bullying of Hyunju broke out. While not only the members of April, DSP Media, and even the staff members who used to work closely with the group all denied the rumor, lots of fans still decided to turn their back on April, post photos of them burning down the group's merchandise to ashes, and publicly criticize the girls for something that was still in the gray area. Reacting to the post, many said that fans were just fooling themselves in this kind of situation, because all the truths remained unknown till that point. Some also criticized these fans for not learning from the case of Tiara, but instead chose to tear the idols down just for the sake of showing their supremacy. Number 6. Fans destroying SNSD merchandise. Even when the idols didn't do anything wrong, got into no allegations, and just simply were pursuing their own dream after all these years working as a group, some fans could still do questionable things to tear the idols down. While that was initially thought to happen only in young fandoms where not much beef had been cooked, a famously united fandom like So-won, the one that got SNSD through the dark phase of Black Ocean, still did some questionable things when So-hyun, So-young, and Tiffany left SM in 2017. After the news was published and all three members emphasized that the departure just came down to their wish to pursue their dream, rather than the end of SNSD, some so-called fans still ripped all SNSD photos, broke their CDs, and even the merchandise of Taeyeon's promotions. Because it's common sense for senior idols to depart from their group and pursue their dream, most people found it ludicrous that some self-claimed fans were throwing shade at SNSD just because some members didn't want to stay as a group. Moreover, as things related to the Mr. Mister promotion, which marked an important milestone for having Jessica as a member of the group for the very last time, were also destroyed, some So-wons were extremely mad and called out these fake fans as some scabby sheeps that spoiled the whole flock. Number 7. Fans turning their back on Mina over some dating rumors. Another time when fans casually hurt idols to show their supremacy is the case of Mina. Back in 2017, when the dating scandal between her and GOT7's Bam Bam broke out, a big wave of criticism was heading toward Mina, despite the fact that JYP Entertainment soon explained there was nothing between the two idols. The worst was that when some onces had turned their back on Mina over this dating scandal to show their discontent, some even decided to cross out her face in Twice's photos, asking her to leave the group or else they would be the ones to leave. While this incident quickly cooled down as most people believed these fans, mostly males, were being jealous, some sources said that lots of Mina's photos were burned down to ashes, and she herself even received a bunch of death threats. As these reactions were extremely ridiculous and, to some extent, objectified idols to some beautiful, entertaining things, not only onces, but even netizens also called out the mindless fanboys for being psychopathic ajushi. Plus, as Mina is a grown-up person, those who criticized her for dating were basically violating her private life and overindulging in their fantasies. So why do you think these fans treat their idols that way? Are there any solutions for this? Comment down below to share your thoughts with us. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe to BeBoss TV for more interesting K-pop content. Thank you for watching.